In the news this week, embattled Speaker Bronwyn Bishop announced her resignation. Meanwhile, former Minister Jim McGuinty believes she did the right thing.
From a Labor Party perspective, I hope she doesn't go, but I suspect she'll have to.
This is the Evening News.
Good evening. After massive public backlash on the Choppergate scandal, Federal Parliament Speaker Bronwyn Bishop has tendered her resignation. We'll have Jim McGuinty's exclusive interview in a moment, but first, this report from Patrick Lazars.
After her apologies failed to curb public anger about her travel expense scandal, embattled Parliament Speaker Bronwyn Bishop tendered her resignation by writing to the Governor-General. In a statement she wrote, "I have not taken this decision lightly. However, it is because of my love and respect for the institution of Parliament and the Australian people that I have resigned as Speaker." For the past 3 weeks, she has faced criticism for spending $5,000 in a helicopter trip to Geelong. She has repaid the money plus 25% penalty. Ms. Bishop also refused to comment on reports about her entitlements as the Finance Department is investigating her claims. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Tony Abbott believes Ms. Bishop has done the right thing by resigning. Mr. Abbott also called for a review into entitlements by forming a committee to examine how to deliver an independent system. The report will be handed down early next year. Patrick Lazars for WAM News.
Former Labour power broker Jim McGuinty believes Australians have made up their minds and Bronwyn Bishop should resign over the Choppergate scandal. During this week's exclusive interview, Mr. McGuinty also discussed other issues including Bill Shorten, same-sex marriage, and the GST.
Jim McGuinty, welcome to Evening News.
Thank you.
What do you make of Speaker Bronwyn Bishop's apologies?
It was so transparently, I desperately want to save my job, and I don't care, I'll say anything. I don't think it would have washed with anyone at all in the Australian public. I think they've already made up their mind about Bronwyn.
Do you think she should resign?
From a Labor Party perspective, I hope she doesn't go, but I suspect she'll have to. I think this is one issue that has bitten through with the Australian public. Wherever I go, there's helicopter jokes.
In a question of leadership, who will you choose as Prime Minister, Tony Abbott or Bill Shorten?
Tony Abbott has, I think since he's become leader, really dumbed down politics in Australia with his three-word slogans as policies, and I think he's also proven himself to be not an honest person when it comes to doing what he said.
Same-sex marriage, climate change and the influx of asylum seekers are some of Australia's pressing issues. Do you think Bill Shorten have what it takes to tackle those problems?
One of the things that I think is very impressive about Bill Shorten over the last few weeks has been that he was struggling in the polls. The public weren't warming to him to the extent that I thought they could have done.
Do you think they trust him?
I don't know, but I think they will a lot more now after the last few weeks.
There was a move from some left faction members of the Labor Party to bind all the MPs to support gay marriage. Do you think MPs should be allowed to have a conscience vote? Same-sex
marriage is not about life and death. It's not about fundamental religious beliefs. It's just whether you're a progressive or a conservative. Now, conscience votes should not be allowed on issues like that.
What do you make of Mark McGowan and Alana Martinez's GST review lobby?
They're getting in on the act and trying to change a small element of the GST. It's only a very small element, but every little bit helps.
Are you confident that the review will go ahead if Labor wins?
GST is a political time bomb for everyone involved. Colin Barnett's milking it for all he's worth. Here in Western Australia, we're getting a dud deal. People ought to be campaigning for a better deal, but I would not hold my breath waiting for anything good to come out of the GST changes.
And if you want to see the full version of that interview, you can click on the button below. In other news, the City of Perth has installed gates in the public alley between Wellington Street and Bishop Road to prevent homeless people from staying overnight. CBD residents are fed up with the amount of feces and rubbish leftovers by homeless people. Fighting and antisocial behaviour also caused considerable disturbance to the residents.
The total lack of respect is totally unacceptable to the residents, and now our job is to look after the residents and the ratepayers of that area. I think the word racism has got absolutely nothing to do with it, and racism should have nothing to do with homeless people.
It's reasonable to build that gate because people still can access during the daytime, and the gate is going to be closed at night.
It appears there's a breakthrough in the hunt for a missing commercial jet MH370 after it vanished 16 months ago. A small wing section found washed ashore on Reunion Island shows consistency with the predicted search site of the crash. University of Western Australia's Professor of Coastal Oceanography, Charita Patriachi, who's predicted the findings, believes the authorities are on the right track.
Our computer model says that in the next coming weeks there could be more debris possibility of coming in that region, not only Reunion Island. also around Madagascar Island. But it could also be, the same time, be in Western Australia.
The United States Treasury Department has imposed more sanctions against Russia as a response to the country's actions against Ukraine. Measures were being implemented on 8 entities, including Crimean port operators and gas trading associates. The US claimed that 2 entities are providing help to Russian businessman Boris Rothenberg, who has close ties with President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, on a related issue, Australia's Foreign Minister Julie Bishop hit out against Russia for vetoing the United Nations International Tribunal for the MH17 flight crash.
Beijing will be hosting the 2022 Summer and Winter Olympic Games after beating Kazakhstan in the International Olympic Committee vote.
Beijing.
The winning team leaped in joy after the announcement was made in Kuala Lumpur. Other cities, including Stockholm and Oslo, have pulled out of the competition due to lack of public support or financial backings. Although critics highlighted China's human rights issues, the IOC remains unmoved about the decision.
And those are the stories you need to know this week.
For news anytime, please visit our website and we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.